welcome to my vlog. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. So in the background you can clearly see fun stuff I've been doing this summer, from planting to hanging outside, walking around my neighborhood, so many different things. But instead of me just narrating about those experiences, I wanted to kind of do a bit of reflection and kind of make this a video essay of sorts. Today I want to talk about perfectionism and kind of my experience with perfectionism as it relates to productivity, self-help, self-improvement, and self-image. And honestly, I'm gonna go relatively deep on politics and self-image and how I navigate the world. So if you'd like to hear about that, listen on. You might be thinking, why talk about all of those things when I thought this would be a summer vlog? But summer has really brought a lot to my mind and been a place for processing for me this year. I always start summer with a huge list of things I want to do. Maybe not always, but I think I just ongoingly live that way, and summer can exacerbate that. All the things I want to do, see, experience, a bucket list. But for me, my bucket list can be too lofty and become a burden. And I've found that in a lot of areas of my own personal life, I can take something intended for fun and make it instead a chore or a cause of anxiety. This is something I'm working through. But again, I wanted to kind of unpack that and how summer has caused me to reflect. So let's start with my past. I think I've always been a pretty driven person and a multi-passionate person, if you want to say. In middle school and high school especially, I was involved in so many things. Like all the clubs, all the student organizations, all the volunteering, and I was busy most days of the week. I also had a really active social life. I honestly never struggled immensely socially, and I stayed booked and busy. From working to just socializing and extracurriculars, I didn't find myself bored pretty much ever. And I think for me that was a safe place and a stable place in my life. And a place where I also received a lot of affirmation and a lot of support. Some of the best influences in my life were some of my teachers and my, club leaders who were teachers and so forth. I was super involved in the Girl Scouts. I loved that. I was really involved with my school's debate team. Super passionate about that. I worked a lot. I babysat. I lived life to the max. Every day, every week, probably. And I think I also, when I would find myself good at something, I would go deeper into that as a way to get affirmation, and also because who doesn't like winning or being successful? But I have found that style has caught up to me. Even in college, I was pretty go, go, go. And for people who don't know me well, they may not know that I've actually slowed down a good amount, and I'm still quite busy and still quite fast-paced a lot of the time. I've noticed that what was a positive kind of way I would adapt to life had actually become a source of stress. I can tend to overwork myself. I can put way too much pressure to be perfect on myself, and all of that can lead to burnout, anxiety, and being overwhelmed. I find it now very difficult to rest and to not feel guilty about it, which does not align with what I believe about life at all. And in all this footage, you can see me doing fun stuff, but I've even made the fun stuff into a chore, if that makes sense. It's all part of completing a plan or a goal or an action that I thought out. And this is something I'm really trying to work on this summer. While I know that some of this is probably natural for me or unavoidable, I do think I want to reprogram myself as best I can to manage my lifestyle differently, because this is a factor for me, I think, for anxiety and for stress. And I think it's really complicated. I'm still working on getting to the bottom of this with my counselor, but I think I've been so used to running at such a fast clip that slowing down just feels so uncomfortable for me. And I kind of wanted from there to open up the dialogue. I know none of this has anything to do with the footage, but I think the footage gives a good recap of what I've been up to, and this gives a good recap as to what I've been thinking. I have been thinking a lot about hustle culture and slow living as it pertains to capitalism and capitalism's influence on how we view ourselves. When you meet people, one of the first questions you usually ask them is what they do. And what we mean by that is what people do for a living and how they make money and how they contribute to the economy, essentially. We're not thinking of it in those terms. We identify people based on their output in a financial, measurable way. And I find this to be super flawed and part of the problem. When you measure yourself against essentially using wealth as a mechanism of success, which look at movie stars, athletes, that's a big part of the deal. The best players get the biggest contracts, right? In an ideal, simplified world. And that just puts pressure on everything. The idea that there's always more work, there's always more labor to be done, and there's always more money to make for yourself or for others, like your bosses or your CEO. I think that resting really requires a lot of faith and a lot of trust that is not innate for many of us, or at least for me. I did some research and I wanted to share some different quotes that I thought was interesting. There's a lot of research showing that this type of hustle culture can lead to poor health. There's a lot of research indicating that headaches, sleep issues, digestive disorders, depression, and anxiety are higher among people who have a very fast-paced or overburdened work life. Slow living is considered, yes, like a cool lifestyle trend, and hopefully it would make you happier, but also a perspective on health and on how to navigate the world. There's a really good quote that I have from a licensed mental health social worker, I believe, called Catherine Demos, and she said, "To me, slow living is as much about how we're structuring our lives and spending our time as it is how we are relating to our time and the things in our life. This can be terrifying. We might meet self-judgment, unfamiliar emotions, and fear what will happen if we take a step back or away." And essentially the idea that for a lot of people, those fears can prevent us from slowing down. So where am I going with all of this? Essentially, I am working very slowly on trying to break this mindset. Because at the end of the day, my self-esteem should not be based on affirmation I get for how successful I am or how perfect I am. Holding myself to a million different standards in an unrealistic way is not helping me show up better for myself or others, but it is helping me feel worse about myself. I also think for me as a Christian, this really flies in the face of where I believe self-esteem should come from and how it should look. I definitely don't have all the answers on this, but I'm determined to keep trying.
Just a little something I tried out.
I'll keep taking you guys along that journey. I don't think I have much of an action step here. I'm really at a processing point in my journey, but I know that I'm on the right track, focusing in on improving my mindfulness by slowing down. And I do think the more that I can remove myself from perfectionism, the better I'll be. So I hope you enjoy this summer vlog. I did not get to do everything I've wanted to do this summer, and I don't think I'll have time to do it all, but I'm going to try to be thankful for the moments captured here and the moments not captured yet. And remember, prayerfully, there's always next summer, and I'm okay just the way I am. Thanks for listening to my rant and checking out this different style of a vlog. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I could definitely delve deeper into different aspects if you're interested in learning more of my thoughts and feelings on all these things.
Just solid like this, the whole thing, and these were mixed in, and then these, but these were a little bit low in this stuff, but I've trimmed this stuff 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And, well, it sold for $100,000. I don't know what they had it listed for, but it sold. Football team's good.